Hi there. Today we've got an interesting topic. Have you ever heard about the Boulder bubble? I once had a friend that said that Boulder was a bubble since it seemed like no one was working and everyone was out riding their bikes, running, out for a walk, or playing tennis. It's known as 10 square miles surrounded by reality. So let's dive in today to see what the bubble is all about. But before we begin, my name is Michelle and I'm a licensed realtor in the state of Colorado. I've lived in Boulder for 33 years. Initially, I came from Canada straight to Boulder, and it took me a while to catch on about what the bubble is all about. So stick around to the end and I'll tell you what I think is a prerequisite if you want to live in Boulder. Now, let's start with the cost of living. Boulder is definitely in an economic bubble in the sense that it's got a high cost of living. Everyone can't afford to live here due to large part the high cost of housing. So the median price of a house in 2023 was $975,000. That is not accessible to the great majority of people. And as a side note, I want to mention that there is affordable housing program in Boulder for people with low, moderate, and median incomes. Now, what is interesting is the economic bubble is bursting on people that have lived here a long time. The people that got to Boulder before the real estate prices started to go up are now struggling just to hang on with the high property taxes. You see, every 2 years, the values of properties are assessed, and based on that assessment, it determines the amount of property tax you need to pay. So many people that have been here 30, 40 years are now struggling to hang on to pay their property taxes since they've really gone up a lot in the last 30 years. Now, moving on to my next thought. Part of Boulder's identity is in health and outdoor activities. A lot of people put a focus on physical fitness and healthy living, and that creates a lifestyle bubble that not all can relate to. When I hear people say they've spent $10,000 on their bike, it makes me shake my head. What on earth? $10,000 on a bike. Now, Boulder is the only place that I know where people spend more on their bikes than they spend on their cars. Now, this is not a realistic purchase to the average American, basically just trying to get by. I think they could justify it in their mind, but the average American cannot. Many people are just trying to make ends meet, and their focus is certainly not on wellness nor biking. Now, one of the well-known aspects of Boulder that probably earns the Boulder moniker is that it has a reputation for being less diverse than other cities, both culturally and ethnically. It's predominantly white and well-educated. The U.S. Census Bureau data from 2020 says that Boulder has approximately 77% are white, about 10% Hispanic or Latino, and about 6% Asian. Now, as a result of this, there is limited number of different perspectives and lifestyles. So up to now, from what we've just discussed, you've got white, rich people that put a high emphasis on lifestyle. Again, that isn't mainstream, so I could see how Boulder would be seen as living in a bubble. Now, this next issue is a 360. The bubble can also be caused by the type of people that are attracted to live in Boulder. Since there are so many high-level tech companies, startups, and research facilities, it attracts highly educated people. Now, these companies hire based on qualifications, and not everyone can meet criteria to fill these high-level technical positions. So I can easily see how the high focus on education can create an environment that feels insular or self-contained. Now, in turn, these high-level jobs pay a lot, which again allows them to afford to buy real estate in Boulder. But what is interesting, many of these people who are working with these companies cannot even afford to live in Boulder. So they look at the surrounding towns like Louisville, Superior, or Longmont. which I think is a really interesting point. Now, from a political aspect, Boulder is more left-leaning with progressive and liberal views. The political bubble is not as obvious now as it was 30 years ago, when Boulder was more of a left-leaning island among a more right-leaning state. Again, it's a case of similar mindsets that might not make everyone feel welcome. Now, this can lead to a community where differing opinions are less common and accepted. Now, let's move on to an obvious reason why Boulder is in a bubble. Its location. It's at the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. It's somewhat in a valley with open space all around it, which, when you think of it geographically, it's isolated. Now, maybe this is another contributor to its distinct community feel. Another aspect of being in a bubble is the kind of person that would be attracted to Boulder. Now, with its environmental focus, and it emphasizes green living such as biking everywhere, local food sourcing, and conservation efforts, it's really not for everyone. You know, charging for plastic or paper bags started early in Boulder, sooner than in many other towns. And another interesting fact is that rentals in the city of Boulder has strict regulations called smart regs that require each rental to be inspected to make sure the home meets the level of energy efficiency that the city of Boulder requires for rentals. What I was talking about at the top, prerequisite if you want to move to Boulder. Now, this is more on the funny side, but to the same degree, I think very true. You need to own a Subaru. Everybody seems to own a Subaru or a Tesla. Now, a Subaru with all-wheel drive, and it seems to be the vehicle of choice for environmentally conscious, outdoorsy, and active Boulderites. I know I'm making a joke, but when you're on the road, look around, and it's truly a very popular car. I think the car fits the lifestyle, fits what Boulderites want, and is in somewhat of a reasonable price point. Now, thanks for joining me. I am a local realtor and can help you with any questions you may have of Boulder or the surrounding area. Just reach out and I'll get back to you. Thanks again. Bye-bye.